I was a medieval Spanish literature major, and there's a concept that comes out of medieval Spain that is the idea of this thing called convivencia. It means to coexist. Some people would say that Jews, Muslims, and Christians lived in perfect harmony. Now, some people might count those dates from 711 to 1411, which obviously would have been a very long time frame, 700 years to be precise. Now, truth be told, it wasn't all harmony for those entire 700 years. However, if you take a much smaller chunk from 711 to about 1031, there was actually a period of relative peace and coexistence in Spain between those three faiths. Once again, relative peace and coexistence does not mean 100% everything was rainbows and unicorns all the time. For one, it was still medieval time. You fought wars over literally everything. So of course it was never going to be completely perfect. However, that is a long time, about 320 years, where the three faiths did more or less coexist together. Once again, of course there were forced conversions, of course there was persecution, of course there were acts of atrocities. However, we have to remember this was 320 years. It's a long time. It's longer than our country has even been a nation. And I mean, have we read American history? Like, thank goodness our 245 years that we, as a Christian nation, have never committed atrocities. After all, surely we learned and were enlightened and would never do the things that they did back in medieval times that we accuse others of doing. Because we had 740 years to learn how to treat everyone as our neighbor, just like Jesus told us, right? Oh, wait. Welcome back to my Thoughtful Thursdays video channel, where we talk about important topics both inside and outside the church. Make sure that you are subscribed to this video channel and turn on your notifications below to make sure that you see videos like this in the future. What ruined this relatively peaceful coexistence in Spain was religious fundamentalism. When both Muslims and Christians wanted absolute power through their use of religion, and a much harder, less forgiving style was initiated in Spain. Obviously, the church and Christians came out on top in Spain, and Spain was completely rid of Jewish people by the year 1492 and Muslim people by about the early 1600s. Turns out that convert or die is a pretty effective strategy to force people into submission. Well, I am a follower of Jesus, so knowing what has been done to Muslims under the banner of the church in the name of God is super important to me, and I hope it is to you as well. Let's put it this way, we don't really have a great track record of that in the past. You see, even as I talk about the relatively peaceful coexistence of these three faiths in Spain, a lot of people get really defensive over that because of a few very serious problems here and there. However, I want you to know that this time frame can still be seen as a relative peaceful time frame because it pales in comparison to the horrible atrocities committed against humanity under the iron rule of the Catholic Church. I mean, where does one even begin? La Reconquista, the Inquisition, the Crusades. People under the name of Christianity have been warring against Islam for a long time. Likewise could probably be said the other way around as well. But just imagine what it would have looked like had the church not been involved in brutally murdering countless people from other faiths in the name of spreading Christianity. What could that have looked like? We are always quick to blame the other party, when I wonder if we shouldn't be looking right within the church for some of our answers today. And I can hear people right now reacting, well, yeah, but you know that Islam wants to convert the world, right? Huh? What do you have to say about that? Well, I'd say about the exact same thing could be said about Christianity that wants to convert the world as well. Well, yeah, Kyle, what about the violence that's in the Quran and the violence that is perpetrated by people who follow it? Once again, couldn't we make the exact same argument for how people have utilized Christianity in the past as people who read the Bible? We'd be super naive today to think that people who led the Crusades, who led the massacre of countless Muslims, didn't read the Bible. Even more, they got the priest's blessing to go and murder people in God's name. It was a holy massacre. And I, of course, can hear the counter to that today. Well, yeah, but look at today. Christianity doesn't do that today. That's confusing, because might I remind us that the majority of people that stormed the Capitol building ready to tie up the Senate, that beat the police officers to get in, and they beat the guards, were looking to hang Nancy Pelosi, they were Christians. They literally had a pickup truck filled with explosives and weapons, white Christian domestic terrorism. And I think that we as Christians in the church need to address this. It would be so easy to only point fingers out instead of really looking right into our own institutions and the people within them. Two polls were done back in 2015, one by CNN and one by the PPP. They essentially asked the poll groups if people believed that Barack Obama was Muslim, and in both surveys, a really interesting stat emerged. The CNN survey showed that 43% of Republicans believe that Barack Obama was a Muslim. The PPP showed an even higher number at 54% of the Republican primary electorate believed that Barack Obama was a Muslim. And this video was never meant to be political because I believe that you could be liberal or conservative and still be an Islamophobe. But why are those numbers so important to us today? Well, because by far, and the stats show us that by far the white evangelical church votes Republican. That's a fact that we can't really get around. It exists, meaning that the majority of the people that believe that Barack Obama is a Muslim are also Christians. Do they read the Bible? Do they go to church? Where are they getting this information from? And perhaps more importantly, are those views challenged from the pulpit? One of my beliefs about Jesus that I worship is this search for truth. Now, I've been a part of the white evangelical church for years, and I can tell you, I cannot count. I don't have enough fingers or toes on my 2 hands and 2 feet to recall all the times that I've heard Christians talk about Barack Obama as being a Muslim. These are actual churches that I've been a part of. But what I do remember hearing all the time was about this radical Islamic terrorist, and we were taught to fear them so much that they were the enemies. I find there's a simple act of having a Muslim friend takes away a lot of that irrational fear. Do the Christians that talk about radical Islamic terrorists, do they have a close Muslim friend in their life? The Muslims that I'm friends with or that have been in my life in the past have been the most peaceful people ever. They put me to shame. They put most of my friends to shame. Here's the deal. Terrorism is bad for everyone. Just because some people claim God while they do terrorism does not mean that they are the true embracers of that faith. My Muslim friends would 100% say that the people who do those acts of terrorism under the name of Islam do not speak for the true faith. And what most people that decry radical Islamic terrorists don't take into consideration is that they are targeting Muslims as well. I'd say the same thing about white domestic Christian terrorists. People at the Capitol building might have been holding Jesus signs. They might speak words that use the name Christ, but they do not speak for Christianity. They aren't speaking for the Jesus that I know, I love, and I worship. And they make the whole thing look bad. I wanted to take a moment in this video and just reference some things that we are thankful for today in our modern society because of our Muslim brothers and sisters. We can be thankful for modern day degree granting universities that got their start in the year 859 in Morocco by a Muslim woman by the name of Fatima al-Firi. Our modern day hospital concept, where surgeries are performed, where people are taught, and where people can stay, was founded in the year 872 in Cairo. It was formed on the basis in Islam of caring for the sick. Now get this, it was free to anyone who needed it. You know how I feel about universal healthcare. We can also all be thankful for modern day algebra. I know that I'm certainly thankful for coffee. We should thank our Muslim brothers and sisters in Yemen in the 9th century for this gift from God to all of humanity. Around the year 1000 CE, a 1500-page illustrated surgical encyclopedia was created by the surgeon and chemist al-Zirawi. He is most of the time known as the father of surgery. His book was then translated into Latin and used in Europe for another 500 years. I personally am also thankful for the guitar. Every time that you also brush your teeth, know that you are partaking in a ritual that dates back to a Muslim inventor. We have a lot to be thankful for in this world for the gifts which Islam has bestowed upon us, and I'd like to leave us with a simple thought. The idea of this thought comes from the idea of a triangle of the faiths of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. For centuries and centuries, Jewish people and Muslim people have agreed that they worship the same God, the God of Abraham. That goes way back. Both faiths tie back to the faith that Abraham had in God in the Bible. Christians today predominantly believe that they also worship the God of Abraham, who is also the same God as the Jewish people. So now we have that leg of the triangle that is connected as well. Christians believe that they worship the same God as Jewish people, and Jewish people for a long time have believed that they also worship the God of Abraham, that is the same God as the God of Muslims. However, because of our Islamophobia, that last leg of the triangle has been very difficult for people in the church to get over. That being that Christians and Muslims both worship the God of Abraham. I think our society and church would be better off if we start off with that as our common ground, rather than always focusing on the differences. Now, I've seen 3 ways for people of different faiths to come together that I thought were actually pretty profound. 1, we can eat together. Eating is such a big cultural thing. 2, pray together. You don't have to pray the same things. You don't even have to pray in the same manner, but spend time praying together. And the 3rd one is super simple. Hold each other's babies. It's really hard to be fearful or have phobias of other people when we're holding their babies in our hands. I challenge you, and I challenge myself to work in this area in the future. Next week, I'm excited because my wife Ellen is going to be doing the video on appreciating other religions, which is apt and timely after this video. You won't want to miss it. I might be a bit biased, but she's pretty amazing. amazing. I'll see you back here next week, same time, same place.